destroy them by building deep negative patterns that nearly everyone has certain belligerencies in himself, resentments. These can become as habitual as alcohol or narcotics. And by degrees we learn to resent everything. We no longer have any sense of value. We whip ourselves and then blame the universe. We destroy our own health and then blame our relatives. Step by step, we defeat our own characters, becoming in the end whiners, complainers, and open rebels, shaking our fists at heaven as though heaven would deign to notice. This kind of rejection, the rejection of the simple facts of things, will become a serious psychotic problem if we do not control it. Now, many people do not really go off the deep end in this. It just becomes a nagging factor all the way along through life. Something that takes out of life its richness, makes life poor and sloppy and comparatively meaningless. Thus, we defeat the experience of God in ourselves. For the whiner, the nagger, the fusser, and the fumer can never really experience the presence of God in consciousness. The acceptor accepts God with life. He thinks he is accepting a tragedy, but in that tragedy appears the luminous form of divinity. Acceptance is always the short way, the simple path that leads to understanding. As we have said, acceptance is not condoning. It is facing that which is necessary. If we have problems to decide, we use every means at our disposal that can be considered thoughtful, reasonable, and intelligent. We make use of every faculty we possess to bring reason and logic and common sense to bear. When we have done these things, we rest the case, ready to take whatever happens, because there is nothing more we can do about it. When we know there is nothing more that we can do, we generally relax. And the moment we are relaxed, the problem itself may evaporate, because problems are pressed into existence by tension alone. If the pressure of ourselves, of our own attitudes, if the exaggerations which we definitely contribute to a problem are removed, sometimes the problem becomes so insignificant that it appears ridiculous. But a little problem with a great deal of libido behind it can really become a nuisance. And most people have taken small things and fretted them into crises of one proportion or another. Zen, therefore, takes a very simple attitude on all of these problems. Just simply sit down quietly and realize your own identity with space, your own identity with the clear light of heaven, your own identity with the warm softness of the earth, that you are actually a being, that in yourself you are complete to yourself. Everything that you are contributes to your completeness. Everything that you think creates its own worlds. You live in a quietude that is disturbed only by yourself. You might as well get around to realizing that. If there's a lot of noise somewhere, you are making it, although it appears to be coming from elsewhere. If there are a lot of problems, you are making them. If there is confusion, this confusion is arising in yourself and not in facts. You live in a world of facts. You live in a world where black is black and white is white, or at least these are the names we have given these things. But most people are not happy about it. They want all the white things to be black and all the black things to be white. And if this change is not miraculously achieved, they decide to settle down and suffer for the rest of their lives. Some individuals insist that their own way is the right way, and that if nature will not adjust to them, they will declare war on nature. Well, this just worries nature to death. And instead of a great fight, we have another Don Quixote de la Mancha going out lancing windmills. And many people lance windmills all their lives. Actually, the facts of existence are acceptable to the consciousness of man. Man can live with facts. Man can live with them, work with them, and die with them. And come in the end to a pretty good adjustment with all of these facts. But when he begins to deceive himself, he cannot live with anything. When he begins to demand, he is lost. So everything that we face is either a fact or it is nothing. A fact we can always adapt to. But nothing can take on 1,000 mysterious, fantastic forms which still have no substance in any of them. So the great problems of life are the ones which are non-factual, problems which we invent, problems which we go out of our way to sustain, problems for which we will sacrifice years of thought. And when we are through, we have achieved nothing. For we have been chasing a will-o'-the-wisp that never did have any substance in it. So acceptance cuts down wear and tear and enables us to cope without emotionalization. Wars are very largely emotionalization. So is crime. The strange, crooked codes of deceivers have nothing in common with fact. But men have accepted them and struggled with them and suffered with them and died for them. And when it was all done, nothing was accomplished. But when we give our life to an error, we've wasted that life. Nature has tried to tell us this for a long time, but no one was listening. In this atomic age, we have now to become factual. Factual does not mean cold. It does not mean matter of fact, as we use the term. It does not mean the loss of the warmth and the color of life. It simply means the loss of distortion. The loss of these grimacing ghosts and demons with which we have populated the world in which we live. Facts have the true warmth of a great reality. A great Japanese artist many years ago said that he was convinced that the greatest thing in all the world was the fact in art. And he defined this fact, as he said, the utter humility of art. Humility is its fact. Great art is always humble. Great art and great lives are humble. And humbleness is factual. Humbleness is the common clay molded into the simple cup from which a man drinks. 1,500 years ago, a Korean potter, probably a farmer, certainly a person of no estate, evidently got thirsty. And when you get thirsty, what do you do about it? You get a drink. This is very simple, but it is the highest form of reason. And because evidently he wanted a cup to drink with, he made one. Now, the cup he made was just as crude as he could make it, because it was for one purpose only, to provide him with a drink. He didn't try to make it a cup. But because he didn't even try, something happened to the cup. It suddenly became a product of internal motion. He simply did it without knowing what he was doing or caring. But because he was himself, he pushed it in a little on this side, and touched it down a little on that side in the clay, to make it, look the way he liked to have it. This cup got buried somewhere in Korea after it had served its purpose, and 1,500 years later it was dug up, and it was taken to a great museum. And the great critics and the connoisseurs looked at this little cup that some Korean farmer had made, who probably could neither read nor write. And one of the critics said to the other, "It is perfection. Never could we improve upon this work of art. It has the most wonderful quality of all, and that is humility. It is simple. It was made only for a purpose. But in making it and in fulfilling its purpose, has been fashioned a thing of exquisite beauty." This is fact. The simplicity of things is their beauty. And these principles that move inside of us are just destroyed by our own emotional overtones. After we've studied art long enough, we couldn't make that cup. It would be utterly impossible. That cup had to be made by the soul, not by the trained technician. And that is why folk art is the art of God in man, and is sometimes the greatest art of all. This simple thing is the Zen idea of acceptance. There is no problem unless we make a problem. Now, the atomic bomb stands there and looks awful like a problem. It has the appearance of one. We read about it. It sounds like one. We wonder how anyone can say this is no problem. It isn't, actually. It will either explode or it will not explode. And about this, there is really no problem. There is the constant need for man's being able to adjust, to accept, and to move on from acceptance without fear. This acceptance means that if he survives, he will be of the greatest help in the restoring of his world. If he does not survive, he will go forth into a better world, perhaps, than he has ever known. These problems are simple acceptances. It has been observed also that where an individual is very sick, that one of the most important things in the world is to get a certain acceptance, a certain conscious understanding, a final acceptance of the